Welcome to another episode of Power Athletes Masters of Movement, where we take a deep dive into various movements that are used in the Power Athlete programs and give a little backstory, a little emphasis, and let you know why they are so important. And so much so that we do a little bit here in the podcast room, and then we jump in and we show you how to do them in the gym. So for today, my favorite movement, my favorite pull, the RDL, is front and center. So the RDL, also known affectionately as the Romanian Deadlift, the Eastern Bloc Deadlift, increases hamstring, glute, and low back muscle activation, and also helps put on some thick mass in that low back. So you get a low back and a set of hamstrings that look like steel cables.
I remember an old Talk to Me Johnny that will link up in the show notes where you describe the difference between the RDL and the stiff leg deadlift, and credited this movement for the reason you did not have a back injury in your career.
So I didn't pull a deadlift off the ground my entire NFL career. And for most of my college career, we did RDLs or we did some form of dynamic pulling with snatch, clean, and jerk. But early on, I believe that this movement minimizes the potential for injury due to that soft knee. So the stiff leg is a locked knee position. That soft knee position in the RDL, I think it puts a ton of emphasis on the hamstring, glutes, and low back. And it just allows athletes to target those muscles that are most important for violent hip extension. Tex, you got a little history on this? Like, do you know where this movement came from?
Only from reading Talk to Me Johnny.
Okay. So the Romanian deadlift was named after a Romanian Olympic lifter, shocker, a guy named Nicu Vlad, who at the Olympics took gold in 84, silver in 88, and bronze in 96. He was seen performing this movement at the end of his training sessions after he got done with squatting, snatch, clean, and jerk, all of his disciplines for Olympic lifting. He was seen doing this movement. So the movement increases that positional strength of the low back, hips, and hamstrings, and it also reinforces a nearly identical position needed in the first pull and the transitions for the snatch, clean, and jerk. So it was an incredible accessory movement. So much so that everybody started including RDLs into their training program. The reason we liked them was that they put emphasis on all the muscles that were vital for violent hip extension, which really translates to being faster, jumping higher, and generally being a greater badass.
Well, not only that hip extension, that concentric, the eccentric as well.
Yeah.
We're patterning how we want the lower leg to reduce force. So unlike a deadlift position where you're starting down on the ground and pulling that weight up, we start in that hip position and we train that eccentric. And I know in field strong, I know from experience, we go into isometric holds. It's a fast descent, and then we're training our hamstrings to catch in where they would naturally instinctively stop for that phase. So it's a fast eccentric and catch isometric. And I mean, we utilize the RDL specifically in certain field strong cycles, but then if we look at the Power Athlete programming generally,
we use it in everything.
We use it in everything, especially on squat day. What's the reason behind that?
I like the fact that it teaches people when they drive the hips back to really put emphasis and work on lengthening those hamstrings. So the hamstring works in two ways. You can either lengthen it or you can kind of shorten it with a curl. So you either have to do something where, like obviously the knee is locked and now I'm moving the hips, or the hip is locked and you're moving the knees. So I really like the RDL, and I like different variations. I obviously like the barbell. I really like the trap bar RDL. I like the dumbbell RDL, and I really love the single leg RDL. So there was a million different ways and different variations to throw out of it, and I've used them all, and I think they all have benefit. But when I think about training hamstrings, I think about training them two ways: lock the knee, and then we move the hip, and then the other one is lock the hip and then move the knee. So that's when we'll do like the physio curls, or we actually use the Sornex
hamstring roller
blader thing. Yeah, so we use that a ton. Which is, you go up into a glute bridge and then you actually curl underneath. We also do banded hamstring curls where we're seated up and we stretch a band and do banded hamstring curls. So really those two forms of training the hamstring, and then obviously the RDL.
Yeah. And where would one begin in a progression? Is the barbell the starting point, or is it the trap bar, dumbbells?
Well, I think you start with whatever you have. If all you have is a barbell, we're going to start with a barbell. The problem with dumbbells is hopefully you have a heavy enough dumbbell to challenge position. So if you only got 20-pound dumbbells, then we're going to be in a bit of a quandary real quick, because once you get good at them, you're going to need to load them. If you have access to a trap bar, I really like the trap bar deadlift. And the reason being is that with the barbell, obviously you push your hips back, but the bar comes right up and down your shin. What I like about the trap bar is it's going to be neutral within your center of gravity. So I've used some pretty crappy trap bars. We actually have two interesting ones. We have the Kabuki bar and then also the Prime Fitness bar up at the gym, and I like them both.
Yeah, both are open face, and those who've never seen it, imagine your diamond trap bar, but then there's only a back, no front side. So you can lunge, step forward, do, I guess, the single leg RDL if we're kicking backwards.
I do like the single leg RDL, especially when you fix one leg and then you'll drop the other one. We do them cross patterns. We'll reach across. We use kettlebells for them. So there's a lot of different movements. The big question comes down to balance, how much flexibility you have. Can you really drive the hip back? Where I see most people fail is that they just kind of bend at the front of the, they drop their chest. And what I focus on is driving my hips back. So I drive my hips back to the point where all of a sudden the only place for my chest to go is down because my hips are going back so much. We've seen people, I know Paul Carter's a big proponent of throwing a band or putting a jump stretch band around the hips and then putting it on the rack behind you. And then as you get into the RDL, letting it pull you back is a pretty interesting one. Or you can do the other way where you pull against it. I always thought that was an interesting cue. What I usually cue my athletes for is as they start to engage, I actually get them and I pull their hips back and I teach them to load their hamstring.
Yeah, for the visual representation, we're coaching through it. Imagine your hips are on a track. So they track as far straight back as they can, and then you've reached your end range of motion when your hips stop moving, and then your torso continues to go down. It's that hip action, and then a strong flex through. Yeah. And this is I've never bodybuilt ever until we got on that Jack Street Challenge, and the directions for that lower ass mass, that was awesome. Like the big squeeze at the RDL. I would fight through the difficult portion where I'm pulling my hips back, and then as soon as it got easier, wouldn't. But then the instruction through the bodybuilding to squeeze, you got a huge ass muscle, use it.
The other thing I like about the trap bar, and we don't program them that much, but I do them in my own training, is the staggered stance RDL. So we're we'll do staggered stance squats, but what I like about the trap bar is you're able to do a really good, because normally for the most part, the only way you can really do staggered stance is with dumbbells. But I like the trap bar loading for the staggered stance dumbbell.
Do you go active foot with those, or you aim to go?
No, I'll do, I try to go, well, I've done them both ways, but try to be, obviously you're not taking a huge stagger, just kind of heel to toe, and then being able to push those hips back. And what's cool is that the leg that's on the farthest gets a massive stretch. So obviously you hit one, then you switch up and do the other side.
Yeah.
So just very, very important for developing that low back strength. But I really credit, I think my best was 585 for like a, set of 7 or 8. So, do 600-pound RDL for reps is pretty impressive, I think.
It's good.
Yeah, that was
a good goal.
Not bad. Yeah, it was good. It was not bad. But I really think that the RDL was a major player in me not having any low back injuries.
Now, for any high school strength and conditioning coaches out there, like what guidance would you do it? Connect it to your squat days. Add it to your pull days, like your deadlift, or your cleans.
I've used it in both ways. I've used them on squat days, but also the way that I break my training up right now is I'm in kind of a 3-day rotation where I have a 1, 2, 3, but I train 4 days. So I get like a 1, 2, 3, 1, and then I get a 2, 3, 1, 2 kind of a deal where I'll hit like a lower and upper and then a heavy pull. And so I'll actually end up doing most of my heavy pull RDL stuff on my heavy back pull day. So, but I'll still do some form of RDLs like lighter. I'll use dumbbells or some other stuff in the kind of the warm up in the in the squat days. But for the most part, I save them for my heavy pull days. I know Paul Carter, for example, we argue about this constantly. He's like, do them on your squat days. I'm like, I think they're low back developer and they're good for the traps. So I usually put them on my dedicated pull day.
All right. Well,
so let's.
What better way to learn the RDL than just talking about it, right?
No.
Period.
I don't think so.
End of story.
I think we talk about it and then we adjourn up to the lab and we go through the RDL and we show why we enjoy it so much.
All right. Setup, execution, faults, all the things you can look for, and we'll hit in the gym.
Sounds good. Thank
After
you
you.
for another episode of Masters of Movement. I feel like we need like a Masters of Movement theme song, like a He-Man or something.
I'm in.
Man, let's do it. All right, Charles, make it happen. All right, guys, see you up in the gym. Let's talk some Masters of Movement, and let's focus on the RDL. And RDL is another one. RDL is short for Romanian Deadlift. We're going to show you two variations, one with the barbell, one with the dumbbells. The movement, even though the loading is different, is the same. So we're going to take Chris through it. We're going to start with the barbell. You can come around this side. We'll show you from the side angle. So Chris is going to take the bar out. He's going to take a step up. Now, the biggest problem that people make is what they're focusing in on is just dropping the bar. No, we don't want the bar to go down. What we want is, we want the hips. You know, like the song, like back that ass up. You a big fine motherfucker, back that ass up. So from there, Chris is driving his hips back. The bar is coming down. He's shaving his shins with the bar. Hips back, 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 back. Good. Coming down to that mid-shin height. I don't want the bar, I don't want the plates to touch. I want them to kiss the ground if we can. Good. And bring back up. Nice. That is our barbell RDL. You can get one more to grow on?
Yeah.
All right. Let's get one more to grow on. All right. Bitchin'. Put it away. All right. Same thing. Now we're changing the loading. What's happening? The bar is out in front of us. The dumbbells are going to allow us to slice through our center of gravity. So he's going to pick up. Ooh, those look heavy. You're going to hammer curl those too? Oh, God. There you go. All right. Same position. Feet directly underneath the hips. This time he can get a little bit more rotation, but same deal. He's trying to get the handles on the front side of the body. If you see as he's going down, he's really bringing them forward, and then he can kind of bring them up to his side. If you want to get a little shrug action in there, a little RDL shrug, you can always throw those in. Oh, there you go.
Well,
good.
shrug.
You notice hips back, soft knee. Soft knee is another big one. We don't want to lock those knees. So remember, hips back, soft knees. Keep it nice and tight to the shins. And we love them. I used RDLs exclusively for most of my NFL career, and the reason being is big, thick, strong, cable-like hamstrings. So that's our piece for Masters of Movement. This is the RDL.
And the Masters of the Universe. I am Adam.